Welcome to the Ignited Recovery Podcast, a new way forward for anyone looking for answers but feeling left out. If you've been searching for empowerment, triumph, and purpose, you've found them right here. You won't hear the same solutions, and you're not going to have any excuses to fall back on, because Ignited Recovery allows heroes to rise and become their best selves. I'm Dr. Adi Jaffe, and I can't wait to be your guide on this journey. Are you ready to become an ignited hero? We've all been hearing about the microbiome and how important it is for our health. It's kind of funny, right? Only 10 years ago, we believed that killing the bacteria on everything was the way to go. I mean, do you remember those sanitizer sprays everywhere? And now we're gradually learning that, surprise, surprise, not really, we actually need the bacteria around us to thrive and even survive. The thing is that everybody's been focusing almost exclusively on the bacteria in your body that helps you digest food. And that is really important because if you can't digest it, you can't live off of the nutrients, and then you develop all sort of GI problems and you have to... Never mind. But research has been showing us an incredible connection between bacteria in your gut and your mental health. Seriously. For instance, studies have shown that the bacteria in the gut of an animal can change its level of depression. And more research is coming out showing that the same exact thing probably plays a role in anxiety, depression, maybe even autism and ADHD. Isn't that amazing? So I did some research and I decided to add a probiotic mix that helps not only mood, but also the communication between my gut and the brain. It's called Amare, and their wellness kit takes care of everything that I need. The probiotics that have been researched to provide actual tangible help, and the prebiotics and everything that those bacteria need to thrive and do their work. I've been using it myself for 3 months, and I gotta say, it's really helped regulate my mood and keep me even. And it's helping me feel less foggy too, especially in the morning. Look, these guys really did their research, and this stuff is top notch. If you want to get it for yourself, just follow the link in our show notes and you can join the mind biome revolution with me. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Recovery Secrets podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe, and I'll be here with you today. And this story, this way of looking at things today comes from an Instagram Live that I did. And I would love it if you guys join us on those days when I do Instagram Live, or check them out. I started doing them every morning while riding my stationary bike down here in the basement behind my office. And the reason was simple. I've been wanting more and more ways to share and connect with you guys. And I didn't really know how to do that because I was never finding the right time. And I've been wanting to do it for years, and it just didn't happen. It kept not happening. So eventually one day I got on the bike and I put the thing on. It's kind of funny because I'm, like sweating and talking while riding a bike. It's a little like a Soul Cycle class with none of the music and the energy. Wait, that's not a good selling point. It's inspirational and educational, and I'm riding a bike at the same time. I hope you'll join me. But the point I made today I thought was really important for this podcast, so I'm sharing it with you guys too. I hope that's okay. We had an interesting night last night. You guys know we have a little baby, Noah. Sophie and I have a new baby, 7 months old. And last night she woke up at 4:40. She doesn't normally wake up in the middle of the night, but she woke up last night. And Sophie sleeps with earplugs, and no, it is not at all because I snore. That's not why. She just chooses to do that. And so she didn't hear the baby. I did. I got up, got the baby, and brought Noah so that she could feed her. That was at 4:40. I wake up at 6, and I was just tossing and turning all night. All night I felt like I was up, and that's not nice. I didn't want to spend my entire night up. I wanted to sleep, and it was annoying me. It was pissing me off all night. I'm back and forth, trying to think about good things. I've talked about some of the fears I've had here in the last few episodes. So some of those were creeping in, and some stories from the past. It's that weird between sleep kind of state. And I felt like I was literally tossing and turning the entire night. Now, 6 o'clock comes around, my alarm goes off, and I'm a little annoyed and pissed. I thought I was awake the whole time. Now, I look at the Fitbit. You guys know, I think you know my daily ritual. I wake up in the morning, I do my 5-minute journal, drink my big thing of water, and then now I start exercising and doing this live. But before that, I wanted to check in with the Fitbit, and I did. I went and looked at the app, and it actually said that I was only really awake for 20 minutes of that time. I was in light sleep. But now again, light sleep is that twilight zone in between sleep and awake. But I was definitely not awake. I was in a light sleep state for essentially the entire time. Only got back into deep sleep for about 5 to 10 minutes, which sucked. But I was not awake the whole time. And I got to tell you, I could have swore I was awake the entire time before I looked at that. And it was pretty amazing to have an outside source of information tell me that that wasn't true. Because I felt one way, and then as soon as I saw the information from the Fitbit, I actually felt a little bit more rested. I felt more okay. I felt a little less annoyed. Oh, I wasn't awake the entire time. It wasn't that bad of a night's sleep. A pretty similar thing happened yesterday. I don't know that these happen all the time like this, but we went to Whole Foods to go buy food, and we did a big shopping trip. We ended up with more than a cart full of food, and I looked at the receipt. Sophie looked at it. When we walked out, I said, wow, Whole Foods has gotten cheaper since Amazon bought them. $3.44 for like a cart and a half of food at Whole Foods is not that bad. I feel like it used to be a lot more expensive. She said, I thought it was $3.21. And I said, no, it was $3.44. Got back home, unloading the groceries. I look at the receipt, and it says $3.44 at the total. And then right after it, it has all the coupons because my wife is a champ. And so after all the coupons that she took off, it was $3.21. Now, there are a couple ways I could tell this story, right? In one of them, we were both right. It both said $3.44 and $3.21. But in reality, Sophie was right because the end price was $3.21. $3.44 was bolded and it caught my eye. Once again, like the Fitbit story, I felt better because we spent $23 less than I thought we did, which is like almost 10%, right? That's like 8% less that we spent. But maybe more importantly, I was wrong. Yes, it said that number, but that wasn't what we paid. The reason I tell these two stories is we've talked about perception before, but we focused on the negative beliefs that you have in life and how to alter those and how they're probably not freaking true, that you're an idiot or lazy or whatever. But here's a much simpler set of examples around the fact that in general, your perceptions in the world can be really skewed. And if I didn't have the Fitbit to adjust and correct my view of what happened around sleep, I would have been more annoyed right now. And if I didn't have the receipt to look, I would have held on to the notion that it was one price, and Sophie would have held on to the notion. It's not like we fought about it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But the lesson is that it's important to allow outside views in. It's important to measure how you're doing, not just by your own perception. Because your brain is not a perfect recording machine. It's just not. If you think about it, from the moment you were born, literally the moment, like when Noah was born 7 months ago, she didn't know how to see anything. She didn't know how to hear anything. She couldn't move her arms or control them anyway. She didn't know where things were coming from. She didn't know who I was or who Sophie was. But one thing was true, and that is all her perceptions emanated from her, right? She saw the world, felt the world, heard the world from her point of view. And you've been doing the same thing your entire life. But the thing is, your eyes look at certain pieces of the world and not others. You can be in the same room as somebody else and look at a completely different part of it and have a completely different memory at the end of the day. And yet, how many times do we get into fights with people? How many times do we argue with people believing that we are 100% right about what occurred? When odds are we're not. Because we don't have a perfect recollection of everything that happened, first of all. And even if we had, we would only have a perfect recollection of what we paid attention to. And that wasn't everything that existed in the space. Let alone the fact that we can then just sometimes be skewed, right? Like that example with the receipt. Both pieces of information were there. I just didn't see one. What are we doing in life that we are holding on so dearly, so strongly to the fact that we are right and other people are wrong? What if we could get to a place where we would allow in the notion that almost every decision we make, almost every piece of knowledge we have, almost every belief we hold has the potential of not being correct. Not that it's wrong, but that it would help us to allow additional information in, to allow other people to tell us their perception of it, to allow pieces like my Fitbit or some other measurement device, right? Like in the Ignited Hero program, we use assessments with people so they can fill out tests and assessments of how they're performing in their own life and have a better measurement of it than how they feel. Because I hope it's not news to you, but we're not always right. You're not always right. I'm not always right. There's nobody you know who's always correct. And when we use computers as an analogy, because by the way, the Fitbit is not 100% right? It's an adjustment. It measures my pulse and my movement in a more objective way that I can. But even a device is limited by its sensors. A camera, a computer that is aimed to look at the world to measure what's going on can only measure it in the area that it sees, in the area that it's paying attention to. And if it's too dark, the cameras can't see anything unless they have infrared sensors, right? There are limitations to everything. But somehow we've ended up in this world where we've just been told and we just believe our own view of things over almost anything else. So I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a question and a challenge. What can you do in your life? What can you add in? What kind of conversations can you have with people around you to start broadening your view and allowing other points of perception, attention, and knowledge into your life that you're not right now? Can you have conversations with people after events? Maybe your loved one, maybe your partner, maybe your wife, your husband, your kids. After you went to something and said, what did you get from that? What do you remember best from that event? Maybe when you feel like somebody slighted you and did you wrong, don't go to somebody else and tell them how you feel it went, but ask them, hey, what's your perception of this, right? This is what you were there, you saw part of this happen, or you read the emails, whatever the thing is, and how do you see this? And let them give you additional knowledge. Just imagine for a moment what would change in the world if we allowed more people's truths into our lives and they allowed more of our truth into theirs. I can almost be certain that there would be less arguments, less fights, less wars, less divorces, less breakups, and by the way, less initiations of marriages and relationships, as people would say, oh, I don't see things that way. I'm not comfortable with this. I don't need to start this relationship. We just hold on so dearly to the way we see things that we block out other people's lives. So that's my challenge for you this week. If you like any of this, please screenshot it, tag me on Instagram, reach me out on Facebook. Let me know, because we do this for you guys. And I want to know, how does this relate? In what ways has your perception skewed some of the decisions you made? And what could have been helped if you allowed other people to help you understand what the best way forward is? Thank you all so much for tuning into Ignited Recovery Secrets. Love you all. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Ignited Heroes Recovery Podcast. I really hope you found the information here useful and that we'll see you back here next week. And look, I want to make sure that this podcast is the most useful it can be for you, so please let me know by emailing info@ignited.com if there are any specific topics or questions you'd like to have addressed. As usual, if you like this episode, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review and rating. Thanks, and see you next week.